In the old days, when the moon still listened to the cries of men and the forest answered only in whispers, there was a village called Umuaja. It was a proud village, built beside a river so wide that strangers said it looked like the sky had fallen to the earth. The people of Umuaja were farmers, hunters, traders, and singers. Their festivals were loud, their barns were full, and their laughter used to travel farther than the smoke from their cooking fires. But joy can leave a place quietly. It began with a cough. A harmless cough, they thought, from an old palm wine tapper named Nana. By evening, he was shivering. By dawn, his eyes had turned white like boiled eggs, and before the sun climbed the Iroko tree, he was dead. Then another fell. Then another. Soon, mothers held feverish children who burned like charcoal. Strong men collapsed in their yam fields. Brides fainted on their wedding mats. Even newborn bobbies cried once and went silent forever. No herbs worked. No sacrifice ended it. No prayer reached the heavens. The village dibia, old Mama Ezenwa, pounded roots until her mortar cracked. She burnt incense. She called the names of ancestors. She spat cola nut juice into the wind. Nothing changed. Each morning, the gong of death sounded again. Boom, boom, boom. The people stopped counting graves. When fear enters a village, it changes people. Neighbors lock doors against neighbors. Husbands accuse wives. Children stare at shadows. Even dogs refuse to bark. Soon, Umuaja became a place where no song was heard. Then one evening, as the sky bled red, and the people gathered in the square to discuss which family would be buried next, a stranger walked into the village. He wore a black cassock dusty from travel. A wooden cross hung on his chest. His face was handsome but pale, and his eyes were deep as abandoned wells. He introduced himself simply. "I am Father Matthias." His voice was calm, soft, and carried strangely far. "I was sent here." "By who?" the chief asked. Father Matthias smiled. "By the one who hears suffering." Some laughed bitterly. Others cursed at him for mocking their pain. But when a woman ran into the square carrying her dying son, no one had strength left for argument. The boy was 7 years old. Foam dripped from his mouth. His skin had turned gray. His chest rose and fell like a broken drum. The mother dropped to her knees. "Save him, priest. If your God sent you, save him." Father Matthias knelt. He touched the child's forehead and closed his eyes. The wind stopped. The goat stopped bleeding. Even the crying mother fell silent. Then the priest whispered words no one understood. The boy gasped. His body jerked. Then he sat upright. Color returned to his skin. He blinked. "Mother," he said, "I am hungry." The square exploded. Women screamed praises. Men fell to their knees. Children ran in circles shouting. The chief himself wept openly. That night, for the first time in many weeks, no funeral gong sounded. By morning, a line of sick people stretched from the village square to the riverbank. Father Matthias healed them one by one. He touched the blind and they saw. He held the fevered and their sweat cooled. He prayed over barren women and their wombs quickened. He placed fingers on twisted legs and cripples walked home dancing. The sickness that had murdered half the village vanished like smoke. Soon people came from neighboring towns. They brought goats, yams, gold bracelets, and bags of cowries. Some carried sick relatives on their backs. Others crawled on bleeding knees just to reach him. Father Matthias accepted little for himself. "Give to the poor," he always said. So the people loved him more. They built him a church with white walls and colored glass. They gave him the best farmland. They named newborn sons after him. In less than a year, the priest became more powerful than the chief. And yet, some nights, dogs howled outside the church until morning. Some nights, the river turned black. Some nights, villagers heard weeping beneath the chapel floor. But fear makes people blind when miracles feed them. Only one person distrusted Father Matthias. Her name was Adiz. She was the daughter of old Mama Ezinwa, the dibia whose medicines had failed during the plague. Because of that failure, people now mocked her mother. They spat when she passed. They said her powers were weak and her gods asleep. Mama Ezinwa took the shame silently. But Adiz did not. She was sharp-eyed and stubborn, with a mind that asked questions even elders feared. "Mother," she said one night, "why do you tremble whenever the priest walks by?" Mama Ezinwa stirred the fire without looking at her. "Because I know the smell of death. He heals people." "Does he?" Adiz frowned. "You saw it yourself." The old woman leaned close. "No, child, I saw something else. Healing gives warmth, his touch gives cold." Adiz laughed nervously. "You sound jealous." Her mother slapped her so hard the hut shook. "Never say that again. Jealousy is for fools, I'm afraid." That was the first time Adiz saw terror in her mother's eyes. Still, doubt alone is a weak lantern. Then strange things began. A young woman healed of blindness was found hanging from a tree, smiling. A man cured of paralysis drowned himself in shallow water. Children born after the priest's blessings cried whenever they entered the church. And each person healed by Father Matthias seemed to lose something invisible. They laughed less, dreamed badly, stared too long at empty corners. Adiz started watching. She noticed the priest never let anyone stay in the church after sunset. She noticed he burned bundles behind the altar every third night. She noticed he kept the floor of the sanctuary locked with iron chains. Then one evening, she noticed something worse. Her own mother coughing blood. The sickness had returned. Mama Ezinwa weakened quickly. Her bones became visible beneath her skin. "Let me take you to Father Matthias," Adiz begged. "I would rather die standing than live kneeling to that man." But when your mother begins to fade, pride becomes expensive. Adiz carried her to the church herself. Father Matthias opened the door before she knocked, as though expecting them. His eyes rested on Mama Ezinwa. So he said softly, "The old one comes at last." Adiz fell to her knees. "Please save her." The priest smiled. "Of course." He touched Mama Ezinwa's forehead. The old woman grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Their eyes locked. For a moment, Father Matthias' face changed. His handsome skin seemed to melt. His pupils widened into pits. And from beneath his cassock, something moved. Adiz screamed. The priest blinked, and his face was normal again. Mama Ezinwa laughed weakly. "There you are." Then she died. Just like that. In Adiz's arms. Father Matthias stepped back. "I am sorry," her spirit refused healing. Adiz howled like an animal. Grief became hatred in one breath. At the burial, the priest spoke beautifully of peace, dust, and eternal rest. Villagers cried. Adiz stood silent. That night, she broke into the church. The door opened too easily. Inside, candles burned though no hand lit them. The air smelled of wet earth and rotten flowers. She crept toward the chained sanctuary floor and pressed her ear to it. Something scratched beneath. Then a voice whispered her name. "Adiz." She stumbled back. The chains were old, but one was loose. She pried it open and lifted the trapdoor beneath the mat. A staircase descended into darkness. She should have run, but revenge can make cowards brave. She went down. The underground chamber was vast, carved into the earth like a womb. Bones lined the walls, hundreds of them, human bones, some tiny as infants, some still wearing beads. At the center stood a stone basin, filled with black liquid, and chained beside it were people. Alive. Villagers missing for months. Their eyes hollow, wrists bleeding. Each connected by tubes made from animal intestine leading into the basin. Adiz gagged. One prisoner lifted his head. It was Nana, the first man said to have died from the plague. He was impossibly thin. "They never died," he whispered. "We were taken." Adiz's blood froze. "What plague?" He laughed bitterly. "The one he made." Footsteps echoed above. Father Matthias was coming. She hid among skulls as he descended carrying a lantern. Without prayer or grace, he removed his cassock. Underneath, symbols were carved into his flesh. Fresh wounds crawled with worms. He dipped a cup into the basin and drank deeply. His body shuddered. Wrinkles vanished. Eyes brightened. Skin smoothed. Then he smiled like a satisfied beast. "I thank you all," he told the prisoners. "Your suffering keeps me holy." Adiz bit her fist to stop a scream. The priest turned toward Nana. "You first coughed beautifully," he said. Then he plunged a knife into the man's chest. Blood flowed through the tubes into the basin. Adiz nearly fainted. When Father Matthias climbed upstairs, she freed as many prisoners as she could and fled into the night. But truth without proof is a weak weapon. At dawn, she ran to the chief and told everything. He stared at her sadly. "Grief has broken your mind." "I swear by my mother's grave." The chief sighed. "Father Matthias healed my son." The elders murmured agreement. "He saved us all." "You insult a holy man because your mother died." Then Father Matthias entered the square, calm as sunrise. He looked hurt. "My child," he said gently, "pain can make us imagine monsters." People nodded. Adiz pointed wildly. "He murdered them, come see." The priest opened his arms. "Search my church." They did. The underground chamber was gone. No trapdoor. No bones. No prisoners. Nothing but clean stone floor. The crowd turned on Adiz. They spat at her, called her witch, liar, mad woman. The chief ordered 20 lashes for slandering the priest. Father Matthias begged mercy for her publicly, which made them love him more. She received the lashes anyway. That night, bleeding and broken, Adiz hid in the forest. And in the forest, someone found her. Nana, alive, or what remained of him. He had escaped. His chest wound was stitched with leaves. "He cannot erase all things," he rasped. From his torn wrapper, he produced a leather book stolen from the chamber. Father Matthias' journal. Inside were names, dates, rituals, confessions. The priest was no priest at all. His real name was Madwacker. Years ago, he had been a failed herbalist obsessed with conquering death. He sold his soul to spirits beneath a cemetery in exchange for power. They taught him how to transfer sickness, harvest pain, and disguise evil as miracles. He created plagues, then healed them. Each cure stole years, memories, and life force from victims into himself. Every village he saved became a feeding ground. He had destroyed 7 communities before Yumuaja. Adiz's hands shook. "Then why stay here so long?" And Nana looked toward the village. "Because he found something buried beneath your church grounds." They returned secretly that night. At the old chapel site beneath the new church, they dug where the journal described. There they found a sealed clay pot wrapped in chains. Inside lay a child skeleton wearing royal beads. And Nana whispered, "The lost prince of Yumuaja." Long ago, according to legend, a greedy chief murdered his younger brother's son to seize power. The child's restless spirit cursed the bloodline until truth was spoken. Father Matthias had discovered the remains. He used the trapped spirit to amplify his powers. And the current chief, descendant of the murderer, which meant the village leadership itself was built on hidden blood. Now Adiz understood. This was bigger than one monster. It was a village fed by old lies. At the next festival, when everyone gathered in bright wrappers and masks, Adiz walked into the square carrying the journal and the child's bones. Gasps spread. The chief rose angrily. Seize her. But before guards moved, Nana staggered forward, alive proof the dead had not died. Then others emerged from the crowd. Missing villagers. Thin, scarred, furious. The square erupted. Adiz shouted every secret. The fake plague. The stolen lives. The murdered prince. The chief's ancestral crime. Father Matthias tried to speak, but the crowd no longer heard holiness. They heard hunger. His face twitched. His calm broke. You fools, he roared. I gave you health, I gave you rain, I gave your barren wives children. He pointed at them. You wanted miracles more than truth. Silence hit harder than thunder. Because he was right. Many had seen signs, ignored screams, accepted blessings without questions. The priest laughed wildly. Then his skin split. His borrowed youth peeled away in strips. Teeth lengthened. Eyes sank. The crowd fled screaming as the man beneath the mask emerged, ancient, rotting, and still alive. He lunged for Adiz, and Nana jumped between them. The monster tore him open. But with his dying breath, Nana drove a knife into Father Matthias' throat. Black blood sprayed. The church bell rang by itself. Wind spun like madness. From the uncovered child bones rose a cry no human throat could make. The earth beneath the church cracked open. Hands, small skeletal hands, dragged Father Matthias screaming into the ground. The church collapsed. Dust covered the square. When it cleared, nothing remained but rubble and a hole too dark to measure. No body was ever found. The chief confessed publicly before sunset. He admitted the old family story passed in whispers. He surrendered his title and walked into exile. Many children born from the priest's blessings later fell ill and died. Many healed people aged suddenly in a single year. Some went mad. Some vanished into rivers. Yumiwaja survived, but never fully. Adiz became keeper of the truth. She refused titles, wealth, or praise. Every year, on the night Father Matthias first arrived, she gathered the children and told them this story by firelight. She would end the same way each time. Beware the hand that heals while hiding blood. Beware the mouth that prays while feeding on pain. Evil rarely comes with horns. Sometimes it comes smiling, wearing holy clothes and offering exactly what you desperately need. Then she would stare into the flames and whisper one final warning. The darkest secrets do not destroy only the one who keeps them. They destroy everyone who chooses not.